Lucien de Marais first learned the shape of Paris by closing his useless eyes and letting his nose read the streets like Braille. The Seine smelled of slate warmed by sun and of pennies dropped long ago by tourists, river-cold metal rounded by water. The arcades of the Palais Royal tasted of almond dust and velvet theater curtains. Montmartre was fried garlic, cheap turpentine from painters, and, when dusk slid in, an elusive ribbon of vanilla escaping from attic kitchens. Elle sesque, elle nous s'y vibrait, trop bien au poussin, an elusive ribbon of vanilla escaping from attic kitchens. Every arrondissement wrote itself in vapor, and Lucien stored each syllable of odor inside an invisible atlas. People at the Maison de Marais, his family's 3-century-old perfume house, assumed the heir's blindness was a tragedy cruelly amplified by irony. What use was a perfumer who had never seen the colors of a rose? They did not know that sight, for Lucien would only have distracted him. While others argued about hues, he was deciphering the politesse of bergamot or the gossip of cumin. Yet one scent unsettled him, an aroma that drifted through the city without origin, impossible to catalogue. It slipped past him in metro tunnels or along the quay and vanished before he could dissect its chords. It was bright like cut green apple and damp like the inside of a violin case, with a spark of burnt sugar and the metallic zing of stolen coins. The scent made him restless, as though Paris, perfectly labeled inside his mind, had quietly unfolded a hidden arrondissement just beyond his comprehension. He met its owner on an April afternoon inside the train at Etienne Marcel. A deft hand unbuttoned the flap of his leather satchel. Lucien had catalogued the pickpocket's entire maneuver by aroma before she reached the clasp. Black wool coat stored too long in a cedar chest. Street corner espresso swallowed in 3 gulps. And underneath, there it was. The baffling kaleidoscope that refused to resolve into any known family of notes. You'll find only ledger sheets and a broken atomizer, he said calmly, angling his cane to trap the tiny wrist against the seat. Ledger sheets I can sell for pulp, a bright voice answered. Broken atomizer? That depends. Lucien released her hand. If you're going to steal, at least do me the courtesy of conversation. Your scent has been mocking me for weeks. Silence, then a quick laugh like fizzing soda. You smelt me? When everyone else just sees a girl too thin for last winter's coat? I don't remember appearances, but smells are more faithful than photographs. The girl hesitated. Name's Leo, she lied, but Lucien caught the twitch of hesitation, the laughter sharpened by consonants. The real name, he suspected, had more vowels. A moment later, the train hissed, doors opened, and the pickpocket slipped out. Lucien stepped after her. He didn't ask why he followed. Perhaps because a cartographer cannot leave blank the single white patch on his map. Outside, rain had wrung the day into damp wool. Her footsteps bobbed left, right, paused. She knew he was behind her, but curiosity tethered her. Tell me what you want, Don Juan of the Nose, she said, still facing away. A guide, he answered. In exchange, money enough that you no longer choose pockets at random. Leo snorted. Blind rich boy hires street thief. Sounds like a pamphlet for a moral society. Or a very Parisian arrangement. I need a pair of eyes I can trust. I already trust your smell. She circled him, gauging sincerity the way other people tasted soup. Terms? 70 euros a day, meals included, and your promise not to rob me. He smiled. Unless I deserve it. She laughed again, a habit that seemed less mirth than surprise that the world still offered novelty. I'll meet you tomorrow, 8, outside Saint Eustache. Before he could answer, she was gone, her aroma folding itself into the broom, until only the echo of unclassified molecules prickled his sinuses. The next morning, Lucien waited beneath the church's flying buttresses, inhaling. Bus diesel, wet limestone, and apricot pastry cooling in a bakery window, and finally, the unmistakable chord of Leo as ungraspable as before. First lesson, she announced, linking her arm through his with proprietary flair, is not crashing into souvenir stands. Tilt your cane farther left. Lucien obliged. They slipped into the Rue Montague chaos, and for hours Leo steered him through shoals of shoppers. She narrated obstacles and pleasures with equal relish, puddles as drowned mirrors, motorbikes as tin horses, policemen dressed like pencil lines. Lucien reciprocated by sorting the air for hidden treasures, a baker experimenting with pandan, a florist selling lilies past optimum bloom, a spice merchant fresh back from Fez with coriander still humming under its skins. When they paused under a sycamore near Les Jolies, she admitted, "You smell the city the way fortune tellers read palms." Lucien shrugged. "I was raised in laboratories of absolutes, benzoin, ambrette, cologne. But the streets teach what libraries omit." He inhaled, teasing apart her aura. "Yours, though. Your perfume refuses to give up its passport." "Maybe I'm wearing a dozen," she teased. "No, multiple perfumes overlap. They conflict. Yours is coherent yet fluid, like a tune that keeps improvising its own key." She offered no explanation. Instead, she ferried him home as dusk set loose its violet tide. And at the wrought iron gate, she patted his hand. "Tomorrow?" "Tomorrow," he echoed, already counting hours. Word of Lucien's eccentric assistant spread through the Maison de Marais like spilled jasmine. The sales director, Gerard, bristled. "We are weeks from unveiling our Jubilee fragrance, and you parade around with a cut purse?" "Her dossier is irrelevant," Lucien answered, fingers drumming glass vials on his bench. "She navigates me where couriers fear to venture. Plus, she is a muse." Gerard scoffed, but the board's whispering nod. Lucien owed them assent. For the company's 200th anniversary gala at Musée d'Orsay, a perfume to silence competitors who whispered that the blind heir could only remix the past. Each evening, therefore, he and Leo roamed deeper. They tasted the sour kiss of neon along Pigalle, locust bloom at the Jardin des Plantes, and hay fermenting in stables behind the Republican Guard. Lucien carried blotters and dipped them into the air like nets. Back in his lab, he dissected the bounty, isolating accords until his new creation began to hum, yet the composition stalled at its heart note. A cavity-shaped, suspiciously like Leo's indefinable odor. One night, while the streets exhaled August heat, Lucien led Léolé inside the Des Marais archives. Drawers slid open to reveal antique flacons, Napoleon Air lavender tinctures, a vial of extinct Mysore sandalwood, ambergris bleached pale as parchment. "Most heirs inherit paintings," Leo whispered. "Yours smell. I want you to choose materials for the missing heart note." She lifted lids, sniffed, her imagination darting. "This one." She held out orris butter, its fragrance cool, faintly dank like February violets trapped beneath earth. Lucien shook his head. "Too melancholy." "And this?" She selected Osmanthus Absolute, redolent of apricot and suede. "Too legible," he sighed. "Understand, I don't seek a portrait of you. I need the incompleteness your presence generates in me." Her breath fluttered. "Maybe your nose is chasing something unscented." He blinked behind his sightless lids. "Explain." "I grow up everywhere and nowhere," she said softly. "Orphanage in Belleville, circus caravan, foster home beyond the peripherique. I change habits so the police can't memorize me, change slang so gangs can't claim me. Maybe my smell keeps changing too, but my memory insists it's one signature. Maybe you smell my appetite for escape. Hard to bottle that." He touched her wrist, searching for pulse. "Help me anyway." She gently withdrew. "Not tonight." After she left, Lucien worked until dawn, layering bergamot, isoisupra, and a shy drop of narcissus. Yet the void remained, mocking him with its emptiness. Weeks later, disaster struck. A rival house, Chauvelin Fragrances, announced a gala on the same date unveiling Fleur de Liberté, rumored to contain an ingredient never before used commercially. Investors wavered. Gerard cornered Lucien. "If your perfume fails, the board will sell to Chauvelin. They covet our archives. Do you wish to become a footnote in their brochures?" Lucien steadied himself with a quiet inhale. Oak floor wax, Gerard's nervous sweat, bergamot cologne applied too liberally. "Give me 5 days," he said. That evening he waited for Leo at the usual café. She did not appear. 3 nights passed. Panic scratched inside his ribcage. Paris reeked of her absence, unbearably tidy. On the 4th dawn, a street child delivered a folded subway ticket that smelled faintly of Leo's coat. On it, a scrawl. Caught. Prefecture. Don't come. Police headquarters on the Ile de la Cité. A fortress of bureaucracy where perfumes went to die beneath disinfectant and copy toner. Lucien arrived alone. The sergeant at reception dismissed him. Visiting hours are over. Lucien leaned closer. Captain Martin enjoys cigarettes from Algérie. He hides them in his bottom desk drawer because his wife forbids tobacco. Lucien pointed unerringly to the drawer. Tell him the Desmarais heir promises a crate of whatever vintage he desires if he releases the girl arrested yesterday for petty theft. Minutes later, Captain Martin emerged smelling of startled curiosity. Lucien pressed a sample vial into his palm. Prototype. Apply 1 drop to your collar before you meet your wife. Then imagine having a dozen bottles by Christmas. Within the hour, Leo stepped out, bruised but unbroken. She stared at Lucien. Thought I told you not to come. The city stank of good intentions. I preferred your crimes. She almost smiled, then winced at a split lip. I lifted a wallet from the wrong diplomat. They'll watch me now. Then we need to erase your scent from their memory, Lucien said. And I need to imprison it in glass before anyone else tries. She exhaled. Fine. One last adventure. But promise you won't go full mad alchemist. Cross my heart, he replied, though his heart was busy learning her new bruised violet. They rode after midnight to the abandoned winter garden of the Hôtel de la Zune on Ile Saint-Louis, where legend said Baudelaire smoked opium with friends. Moonlight pooled across cracked tiles. Jasmine overgrew balustrades, releasing sweet breath exactly at the border of rot. Lucien unpacked equipment, copper still, pipettes, a small recording device shaped like a brooch. It registers molecules emitted by skin in real time, he explained. Won't hurt. Lo, half amused, half wary, extended her forearm. Better than needles. He attached the disc, and as she wandered the ancient conservatory, her odor unfurled. Gingerbread memory, rain on asphalt, citrus peel flicked from bartender's fingers. The device captured readings. Lucien compared them against his database. None matched, because each minute the proportions mutated. The ginger retreated, the asphalt brightened with mint, the citrus burst, then dissolved into toasted almond. Eureka! Her scent was movement itself. A chord whose intervals modulated with microshifts of adrenaline, heartbeat, body temperature. That is why his nose failed. He'd pursued a melody, not realizing the melody was jazz, never twice the same. To replicate it, he needed aroma chemicals that changed volatility under varying humidity and heat. He scribbled formulas, adrenaline surging. Got it? She asked. Almost. I must borrow top notes from molecules once dismissed as unstable. They will mutate on skin, just as you do. Leo touched the cracked greenhouse glass. Then your perfume will always smell different? Exactly. I'll call it fugue. The wearer composes it anew every minute. She looked at him, eyes dark as unlit candles. People like perfumes that promise certainty. People also like falling in love with the unknown, he countered. She laughed quietly. Then hurry. I'm better at unknowns than waiting rooms. The gala dawned inside Musée d'Orsay's former train hall, sun rays slanting through its giant clock. Chauvelin's gilded stall to the east resembled Versailles in miniature. Their PR men fanned sample strips at editors chattering about Fleur de Liberté. At the opposite end, Maison de Marais displayed nothing but a single frosted flacon perched on a black plinth. No flowers, no signage. Journalists whispered, hubris or genius? Lucien, tuxedo smelling of fresh ironing and terror, stood beside Gerard. Leo watched from the crowd, face half hidden under a cloche hat pilfered from props at the Comédie Française. She'd promised not to steal tonight. He half hoped she would, if only to relieve the tension. The bell rang for presentation. Chauvelin's spokesman extolled their fragrance. Rare Nepalese rhododendron, molecules of space-age pepper, a marketing budget larger than some nation's GDP. Applause fluttered like obedient doves. Then Lucien stepped up. No speechwriters, no slides. I was taught, he began, that perfume arranges raw materials so the wearer feels recognized. Rose for romance, vetiver for strength, vanilla for comfort. Tonight I offer a fragrance that refuses recognition. It will not smell tomorrow as it smells tonight, because who among us wakes unchanged at dawn? He signaled Leo. She removed her hat and crossed the floor like a rumor come true. Cameras followed the slight girl in borrowed silk blouse. She ascended the platform. Lucien uncapped the bottle, pressed the bulb once, misting her wrist. She raised it to her nose and blinked. Tell them what you smell, Lucien said. Green apple at first, now burnt sugar, wet stone, like river stairs. The audience leaned forward, inhaling collectively, as though they might siphon scent across distance. One journalist approached, blotter extended, for another spray. He inhaled, eyes widening. On me, it's leather and mint. And now, tobacco? Murmurs climbed the girders. Word spread to Chauvelin's corner. The Demarest Heir had unleashed a living perfume, impossible to plagiarize because it plagiarized the wearer instead. By night's end, Fugue was legend. Gerard's handshake almost dislocated Lucien's shoulder. And from the dais he located Leo by her shifting aroma, now champagne laughter, now narcotic jasmine, now the high ozone of possibility. Later, they escaped the museum through a backstage corridor into the hushed quay. Paris breathed, September coolness edged with distant bakery east. You won, she said. No, he corrected. We invented a loophole. She tilted her head. So what happens to a map when the blank spot becomes a bottle? It gains a compass. He faced her, eyes sightless yet, at last, certain. Stay. I can give you salary, protection, a laboratory of your own chaos. She considered. Under lamplight, her smell pirouetted, restlessness sparred with tenderness, ink spilled into milk. Caging me would ruin your formula, she whispered. Then don't be caged. Be my partner. Come and go, but leave a forwarding address for my nose. She smiled, and the smile smelled of birch sap bursting in spring. Dealed on one of the nose. On one condition. Teach me to smell Paris the way you do. Lucien offered his arm. Close your eyes. She did. What do you smell? She inhaled. Rain starting somewhere beyond Bastille. The river dreaming of salt. Your pocket handkerchief, lilac, folded too neatly. Excellent, he murmured. Now walk with me. The city is rewriting itself and requires new cartographers. They strolled beneath lamps that hissed of warm copper, along water that crooned promises to stones, and Paris, unbound, revised its perfume with every step.